Christopher D. Abbott, author of the Watson Chronicles and Songs of the Osiris series, has built a career on weaving tales of fabulous worlds and characters. He has spent years exploring the realms of ancient Egyptian gods and the fog-shrouded streets of Victorian London.
The first book I wrote of my Watson Chronicles was called A Scandalous Affair. I wrote it in 1998. And of course I couldn't do anything with it because back then everything was still owned by the Conan Doyle estate, and you needed licensing and so on, like you do for Star Trek or Star Wars and so on. So I never really did anything with it. And then when come the 2020s, those characters were now in the public domain, and so it was possible to write for them. I decided early on that the Sherlock Holmes I was writing for was Jeremy Brett. I liked his performance. I liked everything about the Granada television series. And so the Sherlock Holmes in my books is essentially Jeremy Brett. So in answer to your question, I mean, it's my interpretation of Jeremy Brett's interpretation of Sherlock Holmes. And I'm not really fleshing the universe out in total because, of course, that's already been done by Conan Doyle. What I'm doing is taking his characters and I'm trying my best to give them what I think he would like. You know, I'm not taking liberties with them, and I'm trying my best to keep that, but at the same time, in the essence, keeping Jeremy Brett's voice as the Holmes, keeping Edward Hardwicke's voice as the Watson. And then, of course, I develop my own characters with it.
How does Christopher bring such a well-known and beloved character to life?
I don't start a book until it's ready to be written. So I might procrastinate for a while, but I will have that ready to go. Outlining is really important, and if I could reach back in time to my younger self, I would make sure he fully understood that. When I first started, I decided I wanted to be what's referred to as a pantser, which is somebody who flies from the seat of the pants, and I wrote a lot of stuff based on that. Let the story evolve how it evolves. And the truth is, you can do that, and some people do that very successfully. But if you want to maintain, let's say, a structure to your stories, or even a series, you can't. You have to be able to know. And also, murder mysteries are important. If you don't get the ending right, people are going to feel cheated. So you have to know the ending. So you can't just wing it. So yes, I outline, and it makes a very big difference to the way in which the story evolves and develops. Starting it is hard, but once I am ready, my brain knows, and I don't have a problem and I'll write the whole story. Getting ideas is never a problem for me, but I do recognize for some people that don't outline, that they can get halfway through a book and get lost. And that, of course, is their version.
What are his biggest influences when he is writing a novel?
It really depends on what I'm writing, because I do try to cross boundaries and genres as well. So murder mystery stories, yes, especially Sherlock Holmes ones, there's no way you can kind of influence that unless you want to do a contemporary version, perhaps set in the future or something. I love science fiction. I've been a science fiction fan my whole life. Ever since I could remember, I've been watching Doctor Who on television, Star Trek, and so on. So my friends are always like, why aren't you writing for this? The truth is that I sat down many times to try and write something, and I can't write anything that hasn't already been done. But when it comes to my own fantasy or sci-fi work, I can come up with elements that are new and interesting. I think people say this a lot, that you need to be relevant, whether it's current day things that are happening that you need to weave into stories. We had a panel today where it was suggested that people's attention spans are much smaller now than they were. I don't think that's a massive problem because I don't see that as a big dip in my sales. But what I do see is a lot more people coming back and saying, I really enjoyed your story. And I think that's important. And equally, a lot of people saying, I didn't enjoy your story. But I think that's important. I think that balance is important. Learning to take criticism, that's one of the other things that you need to learn, and it's not easy. What drives me, whether it's writing science fiction, whether it's writing fantasy, or whether it's writing mystery, is characters. I'm a character writer, so I like character interactions. So the situation itself is important, but how the characters get through it, for me, that's the key. So I'm not a hugely descriptive writer. I try and get all of my descriptions in dialogue. So yeah, so that's my take on writing is that I like people. I'm a people watcher, so I like to create people.
As an author with several novels under his belt, what advice does Christopher give to novice writers?
2 pieces of advice. Read as much as you can, every genre. If you intend to write in a specific genre, then just read that genre. But I think it's important to try and cross different genres, and that way I think you get a much more grounded foundation of what your reading materials. And on the writing side, my advice to any young or new writers is this: write. It doesn't matter if it's not great. It doesn't matter if the structure is bad. It doesn't matter if the grammar is bad. That can all be fixed later. Get your story down, get what you want to say down. And if you need help later, because we all need editors, even editors need editors, that can all be fixed later. But the essence of the story, get that down. I'm a dyslexic author. I've been dyslexic my whole life. So I understand for some people that is such an insurmountable boundary that they can't go beyond that. So I'm here to say it's not, you know. I don't get every word right. I don't get the situations right, but I get the stuff down. And then people fix it for me, which is how the industry works, you know.
Baltimore County Public Library met Christopher Abbott at Shore Leave 43 in Hunt Valley, Maryland.
This is my 2nd time in person here, but my 4th Shore Leave because they did 2 virtually. Last year was the first in person, so I didn't know what to expect. I had a great time. And then I came back in February for Farpoint, which is in the same place. This convention for me this weekend is on another level. I've had a fantastic weekend so far, and it's not over yet. But yes, it's been extremely well attended and very well managed, and I'm enjoying it immensely.
For more information about Shore Leave, go to www.shore-leave.com.